Hello, again, my name is Carly Shangru. I work with the University of Colorado, and today we're going to be discussing Chapter 6, which is Making Choices. The objectives for Chapter 6 is number 1, learning how to protect yourself from HIV, and number 2, demonstrate how to overcome peer pressure. For this, I would like to give a little bit of kind of a discussion on this. This chapter, we're going to cover some things like teen pregnancy, teen risk for HIV, and also about condoms. There's different options for that, condom demonstration, discussion, or video. So some of the recommendations that we've heard is maybe to, depending on how you want to work it, how you feel, is to maybe possibly divide the youth into gender from, male and female in a group, or another based on maturity level. You may have the older kids and the older, more mature kids in a group, and the younger ones in a separate group. And depending, you might want to do male and female in those, just kind of how your preference, how the group, how it seems to be going. Let's see. And then for this chapter also, like I mentioned, there's some talk about pregnancy, risk for HIV, condom demonstration, video discussion, and those types of things. So depending on your comfort level, you may want to, again, ask, if you can, ahead of time, a health educator, a health provider, somebody that feels comfortable talking about these subjects if you're not comfortable doing this, and schedule that ahead of time and have it set up so they can come in and have this discussion. Okay, so in Chapter 6, again, it's making choices. The lesson overview for this chapter, you're going to start off again with an icebreaker, and then you're also another reminder to take attendance before you begin the group session. And then also we're going to do a review. You want to just discuss the kind of an overview of the online material from this chapter, and if there's any other things from questions from the previous chapters, just to give a brief kind of review over things. You're going to have 4 activities for Chapter 6. Activity number 1, we're going to do the question box. Activity number 2, teen pregnancy. It's going to be a discussion and a role play. Activity number 3 is teen risk for HIV. That's another discussion. Activity number 4 is the condom, the demonstration, the discussion, or the video. You can do a combination of either of those. Each activity for this can range from anywhere from 15 minutes to, it's going to, just depend on how the group goes and the conversations and the questions that you have. It could take more or less depending. It looks like this can range anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes, some longer, some shorter, just depending on the group. Okay, again, we want to remind you about, before you begin the group session, the group activities, is to bring up the question box, check the question box, see if there's anything in there, go over the discussions or the questions, and like I mentioned before, too, you want to, make sure you're prepared ahead of time, and you might want to, just look over the questions and discuss them as a group. If you don't know some of the answers, you can either look them up. It's okay if you don't know the answers, there's different resources you can do, and just kind of look through the material ahead of time, or look through it as a group, however you prefer, or look it up together and be able to answer some of those questions. Some of them you might know offhand. It's always important to prepare, read through the materials beforehand, and that might help you with a lot of the questions that you might have to answer. But just remember to put it in a location and remind them every day that, the question box is there in case they feel uncomfortable asking them in front of a group, and that way, and just remember to review it daily or before every group session. Okay, so for the next activity number 2 is teen pregnancy. It's going to be a discussion and a role play. And so what we're going to do is you're going to need a chalkboard, or a whiteboard, something to draw on, and you want to have the group of youth for this chapter, just have them list different activities like they do, different hobbies, if they like to go to sports games, if they're involved in sports, if they're just anything that they like to do, reading, going out, hanging out with friends, just some examples, go around the room and ask everybody just to list an activity things that they like to do in their free time or for fun, and we'll list them on the board. And then we're going to do a role play, and we'll demonstrate how that role play is done. So, all right, so we're going to start off going around the room, asking you what types of activities that you like to enjoy. So name some things you guys like to do for fun. What's your main?
Bowling.
You like to do bowling.
Movies.
I like to go to the movies too.
Roller skating.
I like to skateboard.
Whoops. Skateboarding. Any others? Are those the main things?
I said roller skating.
Roller skating. All right. That's a pretty good list.
And reading comic books.
I like to hang out with my friends.
And I'll just put hanging out.
Hanging out.
Oh, I like to chew my... Oh, never mind.
Okay, so for this, what we're going to have you do, so pretend you two are a couple. You just had a baby. And let's talk about, I'm going to see you guys discuss to each other. You have a new baby, you're a teenage couple, and how are we going to, the types of things you like to do. Say you're going to go out one night and you want to do one of these activities. How is that going to work? And also think about, well, let's just discuss first some of the things that a night out that you'd want to do.
On like a date?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't really want to skateboard dating. How about movies?
We could go to the movies with, yeah, let's go to the movies.
Let's go to movies.
Okay, so say you guys are planning to go out to a movie. That sounds like a good fun time. And so if you have a newborn baby, would you plan on taking the baby with you to the movies, or do you think a baby would be able to sit through the movies? Would you have somebody to babysit? What are the kinds of things how would that impact your decision on activities you can do for the movie?
We probably have to have a babysitter.
I agree, Maggie.
Max, we wouldn't be able to... What if baby starts crying?
And I kind of think it's loud in the theater
Oh, yeah.
for baby
Yeah.
Malone.
Malone wouldn't like going to the movies.
So you think
And he
that-
might cry, too, because it's dark.
Yeah, and people pay to go to the theater and they don't really want to listen to Malone cry.
Yeah.
So you can
We could leave him home alone.
I don't think that's such a good idea, Maggie.
True. Well, he's a newborn.
That's especially why it's a bad idea.
Okay, we could get a babysitter.
That's always so expensive, though. Do you have any family members? Is your grandma available?
Well, she's not feeling too good lately, so she probably won't be a good babysitter.
I had an argument with my parents, so I haven't talked to them for about a week, and grandma isn't available because she lives in Minnesota.
So
Yeah, my sister's always playing baseball, so she's never around. I can't depend on her, and I don't want Malone hanging out with her anyway, because she smokes.
Yeah, I agree. We don't want Malone around. Baby Malone doesn't need to have secondhand smoke.
So this is a good conversation. So it gets you guys thinking about, if you were to go to a movie, right now you can't think of a babysitter. These are, some kinds of things that you need to think about, if you're deciding to become a young parent. And so do you think right now you'd be able to go to a movie? Would that change your plans on going to a movie if you?
Probably not.
You still would go to a movie?
We probably wouldn't be able to go to a movie.
Kind of makes me think that there's a lot of things we couldn't do just because it's such a big responsibility to have a baby.
And so did you guys think about any of this if you ever thought about a baby and having a baby? And does this make you think about the type of impact now that it might have on your life and your activities?
Seems like they're both long and short.
Short-term consequences.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Babies are so cute and fun, but it would really change our lives.
That sounds like it. It sounds like a lot of these. What about any of these other activities? Do you think you can do any of these without being able to bring a baby along, or if you had, able to find a babysitter, which sounds like you guys might have some things to work out.
Bowling maybe, but it is smoky there too.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to take Malone bowling. Because if he starts crying and needs to be fed, then I miss my turn.
That's true.
Skateboarding, there's a lot of smokers there too, and I don't really want to be hanging out there while you're skateboarding, Max.
Yeah.
And you're having a good time, but I might not be.
Well, I don't want to watch you roller skate and have to take care of the baby because I don't roller skate. I don't know. In comic books, I think Malone would just tear them up, and I try to collect them so that they're worth something. And he'll just tear them up because he can only use board books right now.
Some of my friends that I hang out with, they might like to have Malone along, but most of them would probably not want to because we would want to go places and do different things, and Malone would just be kind of
What are some of the places that you go to hanging out, like the mall, or do you go to any parks or things like that?
Yeah, we would probably go hang out at the school if there's a game, each other's houses. We don't really.
The games would be okay if it wasn't too cold.
We don't have a mall where we live.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to go to Rapid or somewhere close for a mall. Not close, far away, I guess. Because then it takes time to get there too.
Yeah,
so
we don't have a car.
So that makes it very hard.
Well, this is a great discussion. It sounds like, that really you guys are understanding and seeing what type of responsibility and the time commitment and so.
No baby.
So yeah, thank you for, participating, thinking this through, you're volunteering. Yes, what a great discussion,
And way to lead the discussion. Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah. Good job.
Okay, so the next activity we're going to be talking about is activity number 3, which is teen risk for HIV. This is a discussion, so you're going to want to prepare ahead of time. All the materials, again, are in the lesson plan. So what you're going to want to do for this activity is it's talking to kids about, their risk for HIV. And so what some of the things you're going to talk about is, there are a lot of people out there that do have HIV, and a lot of times, there can be, they don't have any signs or symptoms that can go on for years. So unless people get tested, they won't really know for sure if they are having, there's different ways that's covered in the materials on how you can acquire HIV. And also, they talk about hepatitis B and C, and there are ways to protect yourselves. But what we want to talk about is HIV, and so some of the, in the lesson plan, you'll see that you want to ask if the group, if they know, if there are ways for somebody to know if they are infected with HIV. And some of the things that, to get the discussion going, you might, help them with the answers if they come stuck or don't remember or just kind of a little bit shy to start the conversation. And so maybe you might want to ask them if they can wait until they have symptoms. But like I mentioned, it can take many years for HIV to show up before you have signs or symptoms. So if they're not tested and they do have HIV and they don't have any signs or symptoms, that's one of the ways it can be spread to other people. and the longer you wait for treatment, the longer, for testing, the more at risk you're putting other people. So testing is always the best option, not only to protect themselves, but protect others. So, and then there are many treatments out there now for HIV. So, the more the better. It's better to know, and then you can start medications, and people can lead healthy lives. But so just it's really important to review the materials for this chapter. You also, for part of this is letting them know that where some of the testing sites are available for HIV testing, and they can go to a doctor, a clinic, if the community has any HIV testing events. Things to start thinking about in the future, if they do become sexually active, and testing is really highly encouraged, because that's the only sure way to know in the beginning. And anybody that has unprotected sex or shared any type of needles, home tattoos, piercings, certain things like that, you really want to encourage testing. And one thing you might ask them is, do you think that teens are at risk for HIV? A lot of people don't realize that teens, there is a great risk. Teens that are becoming sexually active, involved with tattoos, home tattoos, or there's a lot of tattoos out there. People with insulin needles. So just some of the things to start thinking about ways. And then for this activity, one thing that you might do is, ask them if teens are at risk for HIV, have them answer as a group, the ones that think, have them, the group, if one side of the room, divide them into groups, say if some youth say teens are at risk for HIV, if they think the answer is yes, have them go to one side of the room. If some say that they're not at risk teens aren't at risk for getting HIV, have them go to another, and just kind of see where people are thinking. And then, you can explain that both answers are, there's no right or wrong answer. They can both be correct. There's ways you can prevent HIV to protect yourselves. And so you might want to, again, touch on that. So one reason that teens in this age group might not know if they're at risk is, they don't understand the risks of having sex, or ways that they can protect themselves against having sex. And then also, needle use, how to protect themselves. So there can be, different answers depending on how they look at the questions. So, but it's, there's more feedback in the lesson plan, and that's activity number 3. The final activity we're going to be discussing in chapter number 6 is activity number 4, and this is it's a discussion about videos, video about condoms, handouts, demonstrations. This is another area that I would recommend, if you're not comfortable talking about this, discussing this, that if you know a health educator, a health provider, somebody in the community that feels comfortable talking about HIV, STDs, condom use, protection, just different ways to protect themselves. If you don't know anybody in the community, we have a ton of resources that you can use. Online, we'll provide handouts, we'll provide links, depending on your comfort level. Just some suggestions that you use. And so what we're going to do is talk about some of the handouts that we have, and I'll show you a few of them over here. So, and we'll be providing you materials, we'll be sending you links, but there's different groups that also work, such as Native Stand out of the Northwest area, that have, teens that have developed videos, and they also have done a lot of work with Native Americans. And so these are, some of the handouts that they've done, and other materials from other resources. But one of the handouts talks about condoms. So we do some of the things that you might want to learn about condoms, like the advantages of using condoms, the 3 main types of condoms on the markets, the basic steps in using a condom correctly, where would you find a condom, the availability, can you find them in stores, can you go into the doctor's office, can you go into the nurse's office, just have them start thinking about where they're able to access them and have them on hand. There's also a handout that's condom do's and don'ts. There's things that you want to learn about, such as expiration dates, where to store them, things like that, just how, how to use them correctly, because condoms aren't always 100% effective, but if used correctly, the chances are it's a pretty high percentage, but there's certain things you want to look at, and these are all materials that, if you're going to be presenting, that I suggest you review, or a health educator, health provider. There's also, we have some links provided where you can watch videos that a teen group, Native Stand, has done. And but these are just some of the handouts. Some of them, it shows how to use a male condom correctly, because there's, tips on, like I mentioned, expiration dates, how to open the package correctly, because you don't want to tear a condom, how to put it on. And so we have a few different handouts on this. This shows, like the package, how to open it, step by step on how to use it, and just different demonstrations. And a lot of it's going to depend on the age group, how you're going to divide them into groups, what you feel comfortable demonstrating. And like I said, there's a number of resources. You can combine them. You could do handouts. You could do videos. You can have a health educator, health provider, somebody that's comfortable working in this area that can do a demonstration for the class. So, and all of this will be contained in the lesson plans as well. So it's for these chapters, I highly recommend you review first and think about other resources.